Dude, let's talk about old games, but not that old. Games that give a real lesson to many modern titles. And honestly, I don't even know if that's a good thing or a bad one. Whether it's the story, the gameplay, or even the graphics, they prove that having cutting-edge technology means nothing without good ideas. That's why I've picked 15 old games you need to play as soon as possible. Man, where do I even start with Max Payne 3? I remember booting this up for the first time and being absolutely floored by the Euphoria physics engine. Even today, the way Max hits the ground when you shoot dodge feels so heavy and realistic. It's not just a canned animation, you actually feel the impact. The story takes Max to Brazil, and as a protagonist, he's just as cynical and broken as ever. His internal monologues are like dark poetry, and honestly, James McCaffrey's voice acting, RIP to a legend, is what carries the soul of this game. The gunplay is, in my opinion, still the best Rockstar has ever produced. It's tight, it's punishing, and the bullet time never gets old. I love how every bullet is modeled. You can see the shell casings flying, and the way the glass shatters in slow motion is just pure cinematic bliss. One thing that always stuck with me was the transition from cutscenes to gameplay. It's seamless, no loading screens to break the tension. If you want a shooter that feels adult and doesn't hold your hand, Max Payne 3 is a masterclass. It's gritty, it's sweaty, and it proves that linear, polished experiences can sometimes beat open-world bloat any day of the week. Number 2, Middle-earth: Shadow of War. Okay, if there's one mechanic that modern gaming desperately needs to steal, it's the Nemesis system from Shadow of War. I've had actual real-life grudges against orcs in this game. I remember this one guy, Pug the Unashamed, who kept coming back from the dead just to mess up my day. It makes the world feel like it's reacting specifically to you. Talion and Celebrimbor are a cool duo, but let's be real, the orcs are the stars of the show. Their personalities, their weird insults, and the way they build their own hierarchies is just genius. The scale of the fortress sieges still blows my mind. Leading an army of Ologs and Uruks to tear down a gate while a fire-breathing drake flies overhead, it's pure Lord of the Rings hype. The combat is that Arkham-style flow, but with a much more brutal, decapitation-heavy twist. I will say, the map can get a little cluttered with icons, which is a bit of an old-school trope, but the gameplay loop is so addictive you won't even care. It's one of those rare games where losing a fight is actually more interesting than winning, because it creates a new villain for your personal story. It's a sandbox of chaos that feels fresh every time you pick it up. 3. Rise of the Tomb Raider. I've always been a fan of Lara Croft, but Rise of the Tomb Raider is where the reboot trilogy really hit its stride for me. The setting in Siberia is absolutely breathtaking. I still remember the first time I saw the Prophet's tomb hidden in the ice. The lighting, the snow tech, and the way Lara's clothes get wet and freeze. It's insane that this game is nearly a decade old. It looks better than many titles coming out this year. The gameplay is a perfect blend of stealth, Rambo-style action, and actual puzzle solving in the tombs. Lara feels much more capable here. She's not just surviving anymore, she's hunting. The crafting system is simple but effective, and I love how the Metroidvania elements encourage you to go back to previous areas with new gear. My only gripe? Maybe the villains in Trinity are a bit cookie-cutter evil, but the environmental storytelling makes up for it. Searching for journals and artifacts feels like you're actually piecing together a lost history. It's the ultimate comfort game for me. It's polished, it's gorgeous, and it reminds us that a solid single-player adventure doesn't need a battle pass to keep us engaged for 40 hours. 4. Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Look, calling Mass Effect old feels like a crime, but in gaming years, it's practically ancient, which is why the Legendary Edition is so essential. This isn't just a game, it's a space opera where your choices actually mean something. I still remember the stress of making that one decision on Vermeer. Commander Shepard is whoever you want them to be, and the crew, man, Garrus and Tali aren't just NPCs to me, they're my digital best friends. The writing in this trilogy is so good, it makes most modern RPGs look like they were written by a bot. The gameplay in the first game got a much-needed facelift, making it feel way less clunky, while 2 and 3 still feel like top-tier third-person shooters. But you're not playing for the shooting, you're playing for the world building. Exploring the Citadel, talking to different alien races, and slowly uncovering the threat of the Reapers is an experience every gamer needs to have before they die. It's an emotional roller coaster. I've replayed this trilogy more times than I can count, and I still find new details or dialogue lines that I missed. It's the gold standard for storytelling, and it proves that great characters are what truly make a game immortal.
We still have to find that beacon.
Number 5. Infamous Second Son. Man, Infamous Second Son was one of the first games that made me realize what the PS4 era was actually going to be about. Even by 2026 standards, the particle effects in this game are absolutely mental. When Delsin Row absorbs neon or smoke, and you see those thousands of tiny glowing embers or light rays dancing around the screen, it's pure eye candy. I remember just running around Seattle at night, purposely hitting every neon sign just to see the reflections on the wet asphalt. It's got such a vibrant, rebellious vibe that I haven't really felt in a superhero game since. Delsin is a bit of a smart-ass protagonist, but I actually found his relationship with his brother Reggie to be super grounded and emotional. The gameplay is all about fluidity. The way you can transform into smoke to dash through a vent and pop out on a rooftop feels so satisfying. One thing I didn't love was that the karma system is still very black and white. You're either a saint or a total jerk, but the different power sets you unlock keep the combat fresh until the very end. It's a fast, flashy, and incredibly fun sandbox that makes you feel like a literal god in a denim vest. If you want a game that still looks and plays like a dream, this is a mandatory play. 6. Sleeping Dogs. If there is one game on this list that I will defend until my last breath, it's Sleeping Dogs. It's the best GTA-style game that isn't GTA. You're playing as Wei Shen, an undercover cop infiltrating the Sun On Yee triads in Hong Kong, and the story is basically a top-tier John Woo movie. The atmosphere is what gets me. The night markets, the rain, the neon signs, the street food stalls. It feels so much more alive and dense than most massive open worlds today. I've spent way too much time just singing karaoke or betting on cockfights instead of doing the main missions. The combat is the real star here. It's heavily inspired by Batman Arkham, but with a much more brutal martial arts twist. Ramming someone's head into a spinning exhaust fan or using a car door to crush a limb, it's visceral as hell. The driving also has this arcade-like snap to it that makes high-speed chases through narrow alleys a total blast. I'm still heartbroken that we never got a sequel because Wei Shen is such a complex, tortured character caught between two worlds. It's a game with a massive heart, a killer soundtrack, and a world that I honestly never wanted to leave. Do yourself a favor and don't let this one stay a hidden gem in your library. Number 7. Titanfall 2. Alright, let's talk about the game that has quite possibly the best single-player FPS campaign ever made. Titanfall 2. I'm not even exaggerating. Respawn Entertainment took the movement shooter genre and perfected it. The way you can wall run, slide hop, and double jump feels so natural that every other shooter feels heavy and slow after playing this. But the real magic is the bond between the pilot, Jack Cooper, and his Titan, BT-7274. I didn't expect to get so attached to a giant robot, but BT is legendary. His dry, robotic humor and his protect the pilot directive actually made me care. Each mission in this campaign introduces a new mechanic that most games would build a whole title around, and then it just throws it away for something even cooler in the next level. The Effect and Cause mission, you know, the one with the time shifting, is a masterclass in level design that still blows my mind every time I replay it. It's short, punchy, and has zero filler. It's pure distilled fun from the second you drop in until the final credits. If you haven't experienced the sheer joy of calling down a Titan from orbit and stepping into that cockpit while the music swells, you haven't lived. It's a tragedy that it was released between Battlefield and Call of Duty, because it smokes both of them. 8. Battlefield 1. Finally, we have Battlefield 1. I remember when the trailer dropped and the whole world went quiet. We were finally going back to World War I, and DICE absolutely nailed the tone. This isn't a fun, heroic shooter. It feels like a gritty, terrifying, and beautiful depiction of the Great War. The sound design is, in my opinion, the best in the entire industry. The thwack of a bolt-action rifle, the scream of a bayonet charge, and the distant roar of a behemoth Zeppelin. It's bone-chilling. It's one of the few shooters that actually makes me stop and just listen to the chaos. The War Stories campaign is a brilliant way to show the scale of the conflict through different perspectives, from a tank driver in France to a pilot over the Alps. It's respectful, emotional, and visually stunning. Even today, the Levolution and the Destruction engine make modern shooters look static and boring. Seeing a building collapse in real time while mustard gas fills the streets is peak immersion. I love the weight of the gameplay here. The weapons feel clunky and old school in the best way possible. It's a masterpiece of atmosphere that proves you don't need futuristic gadgets to create a compelling and addictive multiplayer or single-player experience. 9. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. If you haven't played Hellblade, please do yourself a favor. Put on a pair of high-quality headphones and shut the door. This game is an absolute masterclass in atmosphere. It follows Senua, a Celtic warrior, on a vision quest into Viking hell, but the real enemy is her own mind. Ninja Theory used binaural audio to simulate the voices in her head, and let me tell you, it is unsettling. They're whispering in your ears, doubting you, warning you, or laughing at you. It's one of the most raw and honest depictions of mental health I've ever seen in any medium, let alone a video game. The combat is much more intimate and heavy than your typical hack and slash. Every sword swing feels desperate. There's no HUD, no health bars, just you, Senua's breathing, and the sound of steel clashing. I love how the puzzles are built around seeing patterns in the world, reflecting how Senua perceives reality. It's not a long game, but it's an incredibly intense 7 or 8 hours. It's a AA game that puts most AAA titles to shame with its soul and direction. By the time the credits rolled, I felt like I had actually gone on that grueling journey with her. It's a haunting, beautiful piece of art that proves games can tell stories that movies simply can't.
Maybe you two have a part to play in this.
10. Star Wars Battlefront 2. I know, Battlefront 2 had one of the rockiest launches in history. But man, the redemption story here is legendary. If you look at this game today, it is easily the most complete and visually stunning Star Wars experience out there. The sheer scale of galactic assault, where you're fighting across Naboo, Hoth, and Geonosis, is breathtaking. I still remember the first time I spawned in as Darth Maul and heard that iconic double-bladed lightsaber ignite. The sound design in this game is so perfect, it gives me goosebags every single time. It's pure fan service in the best way possible. The single-player campaign is actually a really cool bridge between the movies, following Iden Versio and the Inferno Squad. While the story plays it a bit safe, getting to fly a TIE fighter through the wreckage of the Death Star or walking through the streets of Vardos is a dream come true for any fan. What I love is the instant action mode they added later. You can have those massive, epic battles all by yourself with bots that actually put up a fight. It's a game that finally became what it was always meant to be, a giant toy box where you can live out every what-if scenario from the galaxy far, far away. It's gorgeous, it's loud, and it's finally the Star Wars game we deserved.
I see a large transmitting array.
11. Crysis Remastered. But can it run Crysis? That's the meme that defined a generation, and honestly, the Crysis Remastered version reminds us why. Even years later, the tropical jungles of the Lingshan Islands look better than 90% of the games coming out today. The physics engine is still a total flex. I love that you can just punch a shack and watch the wood planks fly, or use the strength mode on your nanosuit to throw a North Korean soldier into his own squad. It's a superhero game disguised as a tactical shooter, and the freedom you have to approach an objective is still top tier. The nanosuit is really the star of the show. Switching from cloak to maximum armor in the middle of a firefight makes you feel like a total predator. I'll be honest, the AI can be a little eagle-eyed. They sometimes spot you through a bush from a mile away, and the alien sections toward the end of the game can get a bit frustrating. But that first half, the open-ended sandbox where you're just a ghost in the jungle, it's pure FPS gold. It's a game that was built for the future, and now that we're in that future, it still holds up as a technical and mechanical marvel. It's a must-play just to see where modern shooters got their DNA. 12. BloodBorne. Closing out this batch is the one and only BloodBorne. Look, I'm a huge fan of the Souls series, but BloodBorne is the crown jewel. The atmosphere of Yharnam, this Victorian Gothic city dripping with blood and eldritch horror, is unmatched. I still remember the first time I walked into central Yharnam and saw the mob burning a beast on a cross. The sense of dread was palpable. It's a faster, more aggressive version of the Souls formula. There are no shields here. You have to be aggressive to rally and get your health back. It's a high-speed dance of death that is incredibly addictive once it clicks. The trick weapons are easily the coolest weapons in any RPG ever. 1 second you're swinging a saw cleaver, the next you're flicking it open into a long-reach blade. The bosses, they are nightmare fuel, but beating them gives you a rush that few other games can match. I'll admit, the 30 FPS lock on PS4/PS5 still hurts a bit in 2026, and the blood vial farming can be a chore if you're struggling with a boss. But the lore, the world design, and the secret packed levels like Canehurst Castle make it a masterpiece. It's a game that doesn't just challenge you, it consumes you. If you haven't faced the hunt yet, prepare to lose your sleep and your mind. It's legendary for a reason. 13. Batman Arkham Knight. If you want to talk about a game that still looks like it's from the future, we have to talk about Batman Arkham Knight. I'm not kidding. Every time I boot this up in 2026, I have to remind myself it came out in 2015. The way the rain beads off Batman's suit and the way Gotham City's neon lights reflect in the puddles, it's just pure atmosphere. Gliding through the skyline and then diving straight into the Batmobile is one of the most seamless superhero feelings ever made. I know some people felt like there was too much tank combat, but honestly, the power fantasy of being the Dark Knight at his absolute peak is unmatched here. The free flow combat is at its absolute pinnacle in this entry. It's fast, brutal, and when you pull off a 50-hit combo without getting touched, you feel like a total badass. The story is a dark, psychological dive into Bruce Wayne's mind, and the inclusion of the Arkham Knight as a new villain keeps you guessing. My personal favorite part? The stealth. Picking off thugs one by one from the shadows while they slowly start to lose their minds with fear never gets old. It's the ultimate Batman simulator, and even after all these years, no other superhero game has managed to capture this level of polish and gritty detail. Number 14, Bully. Now let's go back to school with Bully. This is one of Rockstar's most unique games, and it's a crime that we haven't had a sequel yet. You play as Jimmy Hopkins, a problem child dumped at Bulworth Academy, and instead of stealing cars and shooting people, you're shooting slingshots and dodging hall monitors. I love the scale of this game. It's a smaller, more intimate open world where you actually get to know the different cliques, the preppies, the greasers, the jocks. It feels like a playable teen movie from the 80s or 90s. The gameplay loop of actually having to go to class to unlock new abilities, like chemistry for firecrackers or English for better apologies, is so charming. It's got that classic Rockstar humor and satire, but it's much more lighthearted than GTA. Exploring the town on your skateboard or BMX bike gives me such a massive hit of nostalgia every time. Sure, the graphics are definitely old school now, but the personality and the music are timeless. It reminds us that you don't need a world that's 1,000 miles wide to create a memorable experience. It's about the characters, the mischief, and the fun of just being a kid again. 15. Mafia II. Finally, we're closing out with a true cinematic masterpiece, Mafia II. This isn't your typical open-world game where you're just running around doing side quests. It's a focused, gritty crime drama. The game takes place over several years, and seeing the city of Empire Bay transition from a snowy post-war winter in the 40s to the sunny rock and roll 50s is one of the coolest environmental shifts in gaming history. You play as Vito Scaletta, and his journey through the ranks of the mob is a gripping, often heartbreaking story about loyalty and the cost of the life. The attention to detail is insane. The classic cars, the period-accurate radio stations, and the way people dress. The gunplay is heavy and dangerous. You can't just run out into the open or you'll get shredded. What I love most is the vibes. Driving through the snow while Let It Snow plays on the radio, only to realize you're on your way to do a hit for the family, creates this incredible tension. It's a game that knows exactly what it wants to be, a playable mob movie. It's linear, but that keeps the story tight and the pacing perfect. If you love The Godfather or Goodfellas, you absolutely must experience Vito's story. It's a classy, brutal, and unforgettable ride.
Hey, fellas. Hey, Vito, this is Luca.
And that's the list, my friends. 15 old games that are still teaching the new guys how it's done. But I want to hear from you. Which of these is your absolute favorite? Or did I miss a classic that you think everyone should play before they die? Drop a comment below because I love hearing your takes.